I've spoken a lot about the traumas, the setting boundaries with people. I've shared an awful lot of my life, my personal story, to help other people overcome their issues in life. The one part that maybe is a bit more complicated, but it is a lot more complicated. It can seem personal, but it's not really, but it's about prioritizing our journey in our life. And it's a harder thing to decide. I'll try and put a perspective to help explain it a bit more. When we decide to live our best life, you decide you're not going to keep living how you've lived up to this moment. So, like, if you think about it in general, like, are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? Are you achieving anything of substance? All the little things. Like, are you literally living the life you always thought you would? Inevitably, most people are going to turn around if they're actually honest with themselves and say no. Now, some people, fortunately for them, that they are, and that's like beautiful if you are. But a lot of people are lost or they're frustrated. So it stands to reason you continue doing the same things you're doing now. That's all you're ever going to do. And if you're not happy now and you're not fulfilled now, you're not going to be fulfilled in the future. It's very unlikely something's magically going to happen unless you instigate that change. So, of course, at some point, we make that decision. I want to live a better life than I have now, whatever that is, whether it's travel, I say all this all the time, whether it's travel, finances, relationships, anything and everything, your location you are, it requires change, evolution. So we've already established, as I started off by saying, that like within my personal journey, I have set boundaries with people I consider toxic, people who don't support, people who just weigh you down. And within those, it's well deserved. Those are assessed situations. And they're ones where you've decided, you know what, that's not for me. I've had enough. You've had long enough in my life, or for whatever reason. Because I think it's up to us how we live our life, and it's decisions we make. It's really our choice. It's nothing to do with anyone else. Whether someone agrees or they feel victimized, that's really not my problem. I'm here to live my existence. You're here to live your existence. If we coexist, then great. If we don't, then that's a choice either of us have to make. At the end of the day, you don't owe anyone anything. So, and effectively, it's not really hurting anyone by following our own path. Although some people will act like the victim and they'll act like you are hurting them. And it's like, why am I hurting you? I'm just following my path and living the existence that I want. You are free to live your existence how you choose. So, with all that in mind, and then understanding that there's a lot of sacrifices that get made along the way, because when you have a vision for your future, you start to hold yourself accountable in so many aspects of life. So maybe you don't do certain activities or integrate with certain people, or you go to certain places. Either way, you're not doing some of the things that maybe you did in the past because you recognize that it in itself is toxic. It might be an addiction. It might be something that just distracts you from really your path. It's like everything's there to derail you. So you no longer have interest in those things. So the complicated part there is, what about people who maybe haven't done anything particularly wrong to you, but they still live that timeline? That's where it gets more complicated, because in that sense, it's not personal, but you've got to ask yourself whether associating with people who are not really on the same timeline, they don't really see the same outlook in life, they're not prepared to make similar sacrifices. So they live a low vibrational existence when you're striving for a high vibrational life. The two just don't go hand in hand. If maybe they invested in themselves and they saw life in a different way and they were prepared to make a similar sacrifice, then you could be going in a similar direction. That's where I am in life. So there's certain people who I feel absolutely, that they've definitely got no chance of being in my life. I've had enough. There's others where I've tried to give them every benefit of the doubt, and it's not personal. It's just that some people, for instance, I've given advice along the way. I've shown them where people take it for granted, for instance, or where maybe there's an addiction or whether there's some abuse to themselves. All these little things. I've pointed it out. And it's like, it's up to you then to implement and take action if you choose to. It's really up to you. But inevitably, I look at my future and I look at where I'm heading and what I'm building towards. And then, like I say, it's like a heavy heart, though. You're not doing it to be cruel. But I've reached a point where I've watched enough people for long enough to finally make a decision on where I see my future and who is likely to be coming on it. And realistically, I'm letting most people go. It's just that people are just not investing at the same rate that I heal at. It's just, again, it's not personal. It's just to each your own. You're going to have your own path, and I'm going to have my own path. And it's not easy, especially when it's people you're like maybe you respect or you just really hope they uplift their lives. But some people just keep going back into same patterns over and over again. And it's just like you watch, just thinking this is just never. It's always going to be chaos. It's like bringing tornadoes, although some people I consider bigger tornadoes than others, but effectively you're trying to create a life of peace, at least tranquility, a little bit of harmony, happiness. Literally trying to establish something you've never had before. And yet you've got people, even if they're not as chaotic as others, they still have that in them. And it's just a bit of it doesn't align with the life I'm building. And like I say, if you go back, just like, I'm trying not to be so specific here. I really don't want to call people out individually. I'm trying my best. It would be a lot easier if I could. Yeah, it makes it really complicated. But if you go back maybe a year, 2 years, even 3 years, even 4, really. So it's been a long time in the making. Well, I say that it's 5 years. I didn't want to say it again because we're going back a year. It's literally about 2020 when I had a different outlook on life myself. I had a huge breakthrough and I just started to align myself to improving my life, really. And other people around me, they were witnessing that change. Now, they were slower to understand and see it. Then they started to recognize for themselves. But they kept, whereas I was already had a head start because I started to develop quick first. But I'm very, very focused. So when I have something on my mind, I go for it, And especially when it comes to evolving, why would I want to be like a limited version of myself when I can be the absolute version of myself? It's like, no, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to keep evolving. I'm going to keep churning away, and I'm going to keep improving. And you can see the aptitude I have in being productive and things. But there's so many nuances and so many other layers. It's that's one side of it. The other side is the actual emotional depth, the intelligence, the awareness, all these things. So I'm highly accountable to myself, but of course I hold others accountable too. So the way you interact is the way you react to things. And again, lifestyle choices, all these little things. And like I say, there's certain people who they had that same opportunity. They chose distractions, they chose excuses, they chose to keep going backwards. So every time they make a positive step forward, they always end up making a step back again. It's always this constant falling back into old patterns. And it's like, it's so frustrating because it's like your life is like, they don't understand. Like I watch and I'm like, people are taking you for granted back in that direction. People are taking you for granted. They pull you in, they push you out. They pull you in, they push you out. There's certain things that were addictive, like to specific people. There's certain things that are addictive and it's not positive for you. Those addictions are really bad for you, like for your health, your mental well-being, all those things. You're literally destroying yourself, and it's definitely not uplifting yourself. So it stands to reason. If you're going to go on a higher vibration, you need to be investing in yourself and improving, not regressing and keep going back. So when I watch people, I always know what they're going to do. Like I'm good like that, I've already predicted what they were going to do. It happened, and I'm like, I've already predicted what's going to come next, but I'm seeing if it unfolds myself. I don't want to digress too far with that. But the point is, clearly, if you look at a graph, mine is constant investing in myself, and it's constantly going up. I don't really deviate. There might be times when I just take a little rest, but it never goes down. My graph always goes up. So it might go up, might slow down slightly, and it go up. It might have a little rest, and then I'll go up. I'm not someone who regresses. Like, I don't make toxic decisions. I don't have toxic tendencies, toxic habits. So, and that's because, I've removed a lot of things too, So, again, it's holding people accountable. And when you watch someone else's graph who you think, you know what, our personalities are good, we get on well together, and you can see different experiences together. You know, oh, you could be there for that moment. That'd be good. We can have fun there. That'd be good. That'd be good. But then you look at them and you just think your graph is going. You see, 1 minute it looks like they're doing well, then they're going all the way down again and back. You know, it's absolutely crazy. The graph's all over the place, but it rarely ever does it get beyond a certain point. It's a comfort zone. That's what that is. That's the comfort zone line. So sometimes they reach just at above, so you think, oh, they're doing well, but then they keep going back. They never push past it. Never pushing past. So, of course, every time you let someone go, it makes you that little bit more lonely. And, of course, it has an implication on their life as much as your own. But again, when you're striving for success in whatever way you perceive that to be, ultimately, you have to hold people accountable just as much as you hold yourself accountable. Because all that people will do, if they're not on the same timeline as you, if they're not on the same frequency, they've got a completely different outlook on life. Sometimes maybe it seems similar, but overall, you watch long enough, you see it's not. All that's going to happen is every time you try to make progress, or you are making progress, they're going to keep pulling you back in. With myself, for instance, I recognize an awful lot of jealousy around me. People won't say it, but there'll be comments here, there'll be a certain action there. And it annoys me because I don't understand why people are like that. Why be jealous of anyone? It's just, they're so low vibrational. But again, that in itself represents the different vibrations. Someone that is jealous is incredibly low vibrational because they can't even see the value in themselves or uplift themselves. So there's like this level of spite and envy towards someone else who is uplifting themselves. Almost like, you know, you shouldn't be doing that or something. It's like, what? I shouldn't be healing. I shouldn't be evolving. I shouldn't be developing. Everybody has the capacity to. Most people are just bone idle, lazy, and just self-defeating. You get rid of that mindset and you start investing in yourself. You start uplifting, don't you? And improving. But again, it's a personal choice. If people just want to make excuses and then validate their inadequacies, it's like, that's up to them. But that's not what I can't be around people like that. I've got too many goals for myself. I want a beautiful life, you know, and to do that, it takes sacrifice. Think about people who are at the top of their field. I'm not talking about like some of the people just get completely lost. But if you look at people at the top of the field, they're very focused. They hold themselves to a higher standard. Now, again, different people have different morals, so they're not all of the same ilk. But you would say most are focused and determined. So, literally, why would you derail progress just to keep people in your life who are not prepared to invest in themselves, let alone invest in you? So, like I said, there's people I've decided that I'm either it's going to be limited interactions with them, or I'm just completely moving on. I don't think, so it's not about being cruel. It's about investing in ourselves. So my focus right now in my personal life is very, very limited people. And it's just how it has to be because I'm too focused and I'm not letting people slow me down. So if a relationship develops with someone and something happens, I'm all for it. That's beautiful. That's important. Spending it like my daughter is a priority. So for instance, if anyone hasn't bothered with me before I spend time with my daughter, and then magically when I'm spending time with her, all of a sudden they want to be noticed and I want to get involved. It's like, I'm with her now. You've had plenty of time to talk to me, to interact. It's not when we're together, and that's how I'm going to be. So there's going to be huge. There's going to be more boundaries around that situation, because there is a level of giving too much of ourselves to people. You naturally do. Like, I'm trying not to say certain people here. I was thinking about one person, but now if I think about someone else, they're always feeling sorry for themselves. And it's always this case of people don't bother and all this nonsense. And it's like, yeah, but when do you bother? And it's the same thing. And they're always looking to, when they get lonely or they get bored, they try to pull you back in again, to make you feel sorry for them. And it's like, I've reached a point where I'm not going to feel sorry anymore. It slows me down. It derails my progress. It's just the pity parties are just no good. It's just you gotta have to uplift yourself and start getting on with life and improving it. Otherwise, just you're gonna keep sitting there frustrated because I'm no longer slowing myself down for people. And again, it is selfish. It is selfish to an extent, but I think it's a healthy selfish. And I think there's the reason I talk about all this is to show people it's okay to be like this. It's okay to sort of see a life for yourself and then throw everything towards it. And sometimes you're gonna lose people, even those who maybe you like. Sometimes it's going to be a tough decision, but you've got to ask yourself, what is the life you want? Because you can play it safe, and you can keep people in your life who are really, you can see they're not developing, or they're going to develop, but it's going to be a very slow process. Effectively, those sort of people, when you're successful, they'll feel entitled to your success somehow. Almost like, because what it is, some people just live vicariously through someone else. And sometimes I personally think by detaching, you're forcing them to face their own reality. And I think personally that's doing them much better than being in my shadow. And that's what it is. So, everybody has their own potential. Everybody has a life they can fulfill. But yeah, literally, if you're not on the same frequency with me, then you're not going to be on my journey. And it's tough love. It's tough love. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. Because like I say, people have had plenty of time to really develop. And when I see people keep regressing and going backwards and backwards and backwards, I'm like, I haven't got time for this. I thought maybe because you're giving people benefit of doubt, you're thinking in your head, like, maybe if that works and then they do that, then maybe they can start to, maybe they, if I had a big career breakthrough, for instance, and it required some travel, even a relocation, who knows? Or anything happens in my life that's just beautiful and expands. You think, okay, they could be part of that. But you're watching thinking, okay, they would probably be behind me because obviously the development's slow and they started later. But if they're progressing, then that's good. And then they maybe, through experiences, it will inspire them to keep committing to it. But when you've already seen people keep relapsing, it's like, I can't do it anymore. The videos I do, the books I do, I implement in my own life with certain people. So I try to give them like a pep talk and things. But the reality is, you can only, it's like they say, you can take someone to water, but you can't make them drink it. And it's the same situation. You can give people all the advice. You can show them how you're doing things. You can show them the outlook you have for your life and what you're trying to achieve. The fact that they have the potential to achieve whatever they set out to do, but they have to focus and they have to invest in themselves. And sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice a bit to achieve it. So how much are you prepared to sacrifice to be incredibly happy? Most people just keep going back to the comfort zone. And it's like, I can't be around that. I can't. It's just too much, So like I say, so it's like a heavy heart, but life's short enough. Some people think it's long, some people think it's short. I personally think it's short. I think if you look, the seasons go so fast, the years go so fast. If you keep waiting for people, you're going to be I wouldn't say all the time, but most of the time, you're going to be disappointed because you think they're growing and they might be hiding something, and they just keep going backwards and relapsing. And it's like, this isn't the life I want, though. It doesn't make sense. I'm investing for my life. I'm sacrificing all the time. I'm working at my craft. I'm elevating all the time. I'm building a better future. Meanwhile, other people are not even doing anything remotely close. And yet there's this weird expectation that if you have your breakthrough, they should be a part of it. Like, at what part did they contribute? And at what part are they even ready? I tried to have this conversation with people before. It's like, to have wealth, for instance, if we talk about financial wealth now, let's talk wealth. Unless you come into an immense amount of money at once, most wealth is accrued. So it makes sense then that to be wealthy, you're not frivolously spending it, because otherwise you're not getting wealth. You're just spending every time you have it. So it's not sustainable, is it? So how could you be wealthy if it's never building? It's never accruing. So effectively, to be wealthy for the most part requires a level of sacrifice to get there. So you're not being frivolous with the money. You pay what you need to pay. Maybe you treat yourself to this and that. You try it within a certain level. And of course, you're building towards your future. Other people who are not building towards their future, and they're not controlled, and they just have a huge expectation that they're entitled to anything. So if you've got something and it seems like you've got more than that should even be considered normal, there would obviously be an expectation that you could easily give me some of that. But you've worked hard. You've pushed yourself into levels that most people wouldn't even go. And yet it's perceived to be easy while others don't even put in the effort. You know what I mean? So it's this weird thing. People always look and think things are easy for someone when they're they're not even doing anything remotely close to what you're doing. And if they tried, they'd realize how hard it was to do it. So I find it quite maddening sometimes. But the point there is, like, let's say you haven't had a holiday for 5 years because you're saving up, you're working hard. And then maybe you come into money, you're doing well for yourself, you're still working, you're still doing things, still haven't really fit in a holiday. Or maybe you've just finally had a holiday. Who knows? And then people they're thinking, oh, I really want to go here, but they leave hints. I really want to go there. Oh, it'd be so nice to go there, wouldn't it? Or they just come straight out and ask, like, I really want to go there, but I haven't got it. Is there any way you can lend me the money? It's almost like a bit of a piss take, isn't it? That someone's expecting you to cover their costs for their holiday, even though you haven't had one yourself, because they're just opportunists. So effectively, they want to have a beautiful life on the back of the work you've been doing, while they've took the easy options in life. So when like, not be funny, like when I look at my own life, I'm very reflective. I've sacrificed a lot. I've struggled a lot. And I spoke about it before with the toxic people that I've set boundaries with, but the same does apply to other people. Even if you've tried to give them benefit of the doubt, it still applies to them to some level. So if I don't have a lot in those periods of building myself up before the success comes, why, like, what makes someone feel entitled when I am successful? Because it's literally what they're doing is cutting corners. Like, you can sacrifice for a period of time. Your life can be hard. Meanwhile, they'll continue doing what they want. They'll give in to every temptation they can. They'll have no accountability of anything. They'll have all the experiences they desire. That's up to them. Meanwhile, you're sacrificing a lot in your period of creativity, your period of elevation, self-growth, healing, personal development, everything. You're investing in you, and everything comes at a sacrifice, a cost. So you're not having those experiences. And then when you have your breakthrough, they naturally want to jump on it. So where have they ever had to sacrifice to an extent to have anything? They haven't. They've had all the experiences they want, and then as soon as they see opportunity, they feel entitled to it. And it's like, this doesn't seem right to me at all. Like, I'm sacrificing here when people could have helped. They could have supported. They chose not to. You're definitely not entitled to anything that I do in the future. That's mine. I earned that. You want it, you earn it. You go and do something. And like I said, I'm not interested in having tornadoes around me. And I don't need people derailing and causing absolute chaos. It's like, I don't need that shit. So, yeah, my standards are high, and that means I'm setting high standards with those around me. And I'm more than happy, like more than content with just traversing this earth alone. That's the thing. I won't allow people to set me back. And I will not allow anyone to take advantage of me or abuse me. So my standards are high in life. So like I say, there are certain people who I've witnessed long enough, and now I'm having to either cut ties or just minimize my engagement with them. And they'll notice. I don't need to say it to them. It'll be a natural detachment. Because, I'd rather not detach 100% if I can help it. You still hope, even though in all honesty, I think it's impossible at this stage. But you still hope that at some point they heal, they grow, develop, and then they can still, maybe at some point, they would be aligned. But I just don't see it now. I don't want to be cruel. So it's a case of, I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to keep it simple. And it's up to them to develop their own life, because they keep taking so many step backs. It's just crazy. It's just they're not growing. At least it doesn't seem to me. They're no further advanced, Of course, people at different stages of their life, but the point is, none of us are getting any younger. And I've sacrificed too long and too much to start sitting still waiting for people to catch up. I've always said that. On my journey. I'm not sitting still for people. So if someone hasn't been healing, for instance, and they're behind me in their development, it's like, what makes them think they're going to be in alignment with me when I've always been growing and developing, and I'm quite rapid in my development? You have to think about that, like, in terms of like where you're at in life and who you are as a person, all the layers you've shed, because it takes an awful lot of personal growth, like self-reflection, to real heal. There's no point telling yourself you're this and that, or that's if it's not true. It's accountability. Like I've already said, like when I was younger, like in my mid-20s, even late 20s, I was a bit, even early 30s, really, wasn't that? Like, I was a bit more of a hothead. I got stressed really quick. So that made me a bit more volatile. Not physically, but I'd get really, really annoyed and frustrated, and I'm quite vocal about that. Now, I have tendencies still. It's my nature. It's part of my personality. But I've stemmed it a lot, and I'm less reactive to people. I'm pick and choose when I want to be reactive. And I think and you notice it in your life. Like, for instance, in the car, I used to be really quick to just lose my shit in the car. Now I'm quite chill. I still might get the odd fed up sometimes, but I'm a lot more chill than I was 10 years ago. And I see it myself. I don't really sit. I used to sit behind. This is how I'm saying this. I think these are little things, and this is just an obvious way. But there's other sides to all of our life. I used to sit closer to the cars in front, so you keep doing. You call it tailgating, really, but it's just because you're so annoyed. Like, why are they going so slow? And you start getting really irritated. And then when they keep braking, it's like, stop braking. You don't have to brake every 2 seconds. So you get really, really built up, and that starts to build up, doesn't it? And you get really frustrated. So all you want to do is overtake them. So sometimes you'd undertake them, which you're not supposed to do. So you'd overtake them in the inside lane and then go around them. You know, we've all been there. We've all got like tempers. Now I'm more likely. Say more likely. There's still times when you'll get fed up, just like everybody else does, you know. But for the most part, I just tend to keep a car's length between me and the car. And what I do, I try to prevent a knock-on effect. So if an idiot in front of me is just going to keep braking because they've got no control of their vehicle, literally all you got to do is take off the accelerator, the gas. Just take your foot off the gas every time this. You don't have to keep slamming the brakes. You can just release the gas and it won't go so fast. You don't have to keep slamming the brake. But some people are just stupid. It's like, and I'm thinking, look, I can do the same thing, and it's going to keep making everybody behind us do it. So I actually take an active decision to leave a gap between me and the car. And unless it's an abrupt stop where we're getting too close, I'm just coming off the accelerator when I notice. And then the car behind me just slows calmly. They're not having to keep slamming. And then no one else is doing it. Again, it's about being a chain breaker, you know. And I know that's a weird little thing to talk about, but from my point of view, that was huge. You know, and even my daughter says, you know, you've calmed down a lot. You know, and I'm like, yeah, it's a point. Effectively, what is the point? You know, when it comes to a lot of things, a lot of time it's what is the point? You're not really going to change someone else's narrative. So if someone, even in heated arguments, you might hate each other. You might be the smartest one there, and they might know they might get a different perspective, and they might know you can outwit them and all that. But they're still going to have their opinion at the end, and you're not going to convince someone to like you that doesn't like you. So even if you try to they're still going to turn around and say whatever they want after, aren't they? So all these things. But ultimately, it's building the life you want and then thinking, what sort of people do you want around you? Like, effectively, if you pictured your perfect life, like how you see it, what it could be, how would you feel? What sort of people would you want around you in that environment? And then you got to ask yourself about like maybe the people around you at the moment. Are they really? It's not about forcing them to be there. Are they the sort of? Would they be able to live like that? You know, the fact that my family, for instance, no, they're chaotic. I can't. I've put a stop now. Enough's enough. I always pictured them like tornadoes. They're chaos. They just gossip about each other all the time. It's just, I don't want to go into it, but it's just so. It's not the life I want. I want a harmonious life, a simple life. I don't ask for much. I don't need a massive group of people around me. I want the freedom to be able to do what I want in a given moment. Enjoy the company of, you know, if you're in a relationship there and my daughter, I'm happy with just that, you know, and then travel, have these experiences. I don't need a load of chaos around me. I don't need people's drama. I don't need a load of the negativity and shit. I don't need people keep freaking going 10 steps back every time they should be moving forward. It's like, I've invested in myself. It's now up to other people to invest in themselves. And unfortunately, you just never bothered. So it's sent us on a different path. And I say that all the time. Like, that's how I see life. Like, the potential is nothing so rigid, I don't think. So people see life in their own way. I don't think life is always so rigid. I think there's consequences to decisions, to behaviors. So in one timeline, you could have people could come with. In another timeline, they didn't because they made different decisions. It's not all, we still have free will. And it's accountability. So it's a case of how much am I going to restrict my life for someone to be a part of it? The answer is none. I'm not restricting my life for anyone. It's not happening. So that means people really have to raise the bar to be with me. They don't have to come. This is the thing. Like, I'm just talking about my life in general. Like, other people might think, well, I don't want to do all that. It's like, that's great because you're not coming anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's up to people to either be ready or they're not ready. It's just as simple as that. Like I say, I don't say it's not deeply personal. It's a case of the life I want, I'm going to live. I'm going to have the life I want, and nothing's stopping me. So, anyone that doesn't align with that, you can only wish them well and hope they live their dreams because it's up to them to do it, isn't it? You know, I'm intelligent. I'm good at seeing the way out of situations, a different perspective. So a lot of the time in my life, people expect me to figure shit out from all the time. It's like, you still got to live your life and do it for yourself. And you need to start looking at the patterns of behaviors and things and start figuring out what you should do. You can't expect me to draw you a picture for everything in life. There was a situation recently with a family member, and I knew because I spoke to someone. And I said, I could just, I'm trying not to be personal here, but I knew if I'd spoke to them, it would have changed an outcome. I could have got through to them and made them see something, and they would have done something specific. But by not doing something, there's a consequence. They have a consequence. But I didn't get involved because I've given them enough advice for long enough. It's up to people now to start taking accountability of what they're doing, whether it's their deficiencies or anything, you know. So there's no guarantee they would have implemented what I say. But I'm just sick and tired of having to keep seeing the issues in people's life, quickly jump in to save them. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. It's like, no, you got to start seeing that shit yourself now. You're accountable. If something doesn't work out or something goes against you because you didn't see it, then that's up to you. Because I'm not always going to be there and I've got my own shit to do. So again, it's up to us to develop ourselves and be really just a role model. I think just be a role model to ourselves, really. It's like, we have to inspire ourselves to live the life we want. And that's where I'm up to. I mean, let's call it the selfish era. I'm in my selfish era. I don't even feel bad about it because I'm not hurting anyone. You know, I'm just on my own little path, living my own little life, you know? It's like, if so, you know what I mean? If people feel like slanted because they're not part of it, it's like, you could have been a part of it. You could have been. But fortunately, either your toxicity, your behavior, your personality, whatever it is, it just doesn't align with where I'm going. So, yeah, because people, they not necessarily manipulate, but they can confuse you a little bit. So a lot of time people try to, especially like early on before you have a breakthrough, people have a habit of minimizing your journey to an extent. They'll distract you. That's what it is. It's more of a distraction tactic. So maybe you don't see your potential. You don't really look too far ahead. You're literally just a source of entertainment for them. Keeps people comfortable. And and that's where like my breakthrough come. I thought I'm far more than this. Far more than this. I don't want to be rude, but I always knew I was more intelligent than everyone around me, but I also have a lot of humor and there's other things, and people just kept playing on my humor. So of course it was like nice for them to have my entertainment and I'm with them and we're having fun and you can have laughs. But I was always in the back of my mind thinking, I've got so much I want to accomplish. I don't really know what it is, but I know I'm far more than this. And that's the thing. I think some people have more potential than others, for starters. I think other people have their own unique talents and gifts, and it's up to us to develop that and figure out what that is. And then investing ourselves, you know. So once I truly started investing in myself, there was no way I was going to stop. And then I realized what people were doing to me. And it's like, oh, I get you. So that's why you won't support me, because you don't want me to be successful. Because I don't want to be left behind. Some of that is a jealousy. There's all other angles. They've lost me anyway. It's the same if you think about like people when they put you in a friend zone. Same sort of thing. I'm always transparent with people like that. If you put me in a friend zone, then unfortunately, you know, it isn't a safety net. You don't get to just put like, for instance, in my life, you don't get to put me in a friend zone and then consider me the fact that you have me for the rest of my life, because we've already established I'm not looking for a large group of friends. And I think if there's an attraction at all, you can't be friends. Because I wouldn't do that to everyone I'm in a relationship with. I wouldn't put them through anything like that. And I don't need that in my life, the complication anyway. Not that you would do anything. I just wouldn't like the feeling of it. You shouldn't be around. I shouldn't be in a situation where I find that my attraction is to my partner, whoever my partner is. I don't need any complications or distractions beyond that. It's like, I don't want it. It's like, no, I'm only interested in one person. And if it's them, that's them. So, yeah. Okay. In all aspects of life, people will try to, oh, no, but I'm not, no, I'm telling you now, I'm done. You know, it's done. It's finished. That's how I am. And I think you have to be rigid like that. And I think you have to be quite, it takes a strong character, you know, to set boundaries. It's a lot easier to give in to people. Let's say in that situation, I know it's gone off track and it's not quite to the same extent of the other stuff now, but if you go that way, let's say someone sees you as a friend and they're like, no, but I really need a friend. I really need, like, It's like, well, if you don't see me as more than a friend, which is understandable because obviously we're all looking for the right person today, then you need to focus on finding that person and then confide in them, because I'm not looking for complications. And that person, maybe they feel really bad about it. Maybe they really want. It's not for me to validate it. In the same way they get to reject you, I also have the option to set boundaries and determine what I want for my life. And I've already established I don't want a lot of friends. The more friends you have, the more complicated it gets. I don't like complications. I just don't like big groups of people. I don't mind talking in groups of people, but in my private life, I've never liked it. I don't care if it makes me weird. I just don't like it. It doesn't mean, like, for instance, this is the thing with me. I don't force my life on other people. I hold people accountable, but I don't force my life on other people. So let's say I had a partner and we're the opposites. Let's say I'm more reclusive. I like my alone time. I'm more independent. I've always got things on the go. I'm either distracting myself with something or I'm working on a project. I'm happy enough that I'm not hurting anyone. Just let me be. I like my company. Let me just be with me. I don't need other people's nonsense. So that's what I'm like. And I'm transparent about that. If I'm in a relationship, then I would obviously absolutely adore them. And it wouldn't feel like a burden. It would be more like just an extension of, and that's beautiful. But if they don't really like that sort of isolated life to an extent, and they like to have friends, so they want to go out for lunch with them, they want to go on a holiday with them, they want to go somewhere at the weekend with them. Sometimes, like, if obviously if I'm invited, I'll join. Sometimes I wouldn't want to be like that. I'm not going to be that weird, but they would understand where my limits are, and I'm not going to deny them that. If you want to have friends, have friends. You want to go on holiday with them, go on holiday with them. You know, you're not tied to me. It's about respecting each other, though. You know the boundary of what is. They would have to. Let's be realistic. This isn't about cheating in any way. Like, it's about knowing the limit of what you think would be acceptable. Like, what do you think's reasonable? And it's up to them to figure out the limits for that. But they would know whether if you're with someone, whether they've crossed the line. And you have to. If you don't trust them, what's the point of being in a relationship? So that's what I'd be like. I'm happy with what I do. I don't expect you to mirror it. If you like that lifestyle, great. That's whatever you want. If they feel they need time apart sometimes because it really gets a bit intense and they like to have more people around, but that's what I say. You can by all means. And I just find people complicate things, and that's why I get a bit fed up. I've had it my whole life like that. I don't follow people either. That's another thing with me. So I've never been like, I can't handle that. I don't like it. People just like constantly dictating what you're doing, where to go, where to be. It's like, leave it alone. I'm all right. I ain't even bothering. I'm good on my own. Thank you very much. So yeah, but then that makes me resilient. So some people like pick that apart and I think that's dysfunctional and all this nonsense. It's like, that's because that's the lifestyle they want. It's not what I want. So I know what I want. I'm again, the thing with me is people can't act surprised. I'm quite transparent about it. You can't like expect something else of me when I've made it abundantly clear. It's the same I say about a career, for instance. I see a beautiful career at some point, and look, I will appreciate any opportunities given to me, but it would have to be on my terms too. I don't care. I really don't care. And it's not a case of I'd be absolutely unhinged because I'm fair. But if people expect to, like, if let's say an opportunity comes and it changes your life, it's a huge amount of money, it's a huge opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but if you don't conform to everything that's being offered, and like this is the rules, and if you don't conform to all of this, you're having it all taken away. I'm happy. I'll be poor. Get that right. I'm not selling myself out for shit. I will not do it. So if people either respect me or they don't respect me, but if you disrespect me, I've got no respect for you anyway. So I don't care because I am quite like I'm going off track here, but I'm all about justice. So if it's all about integrity, so for me, my values are more important than any of that shit. So if someone was to, I know some people would look at that and go, "That's crazy! Like why would you give up that?" That's not the option to me, though. The option is that that's not available to me because to do it fair, I can't have it. To sell out, I can have it. Well, that's not the option available. I don't sell out. So what is the option available to me with maintaining my integrity? There is no option. Then I've no choice. That's no option. There's no option then. That's not. I'm not. You know, I mean, I wouldn't be doing it to be disrespectful to someone, but there has to be limits. It's like, effectively, let's say someone invests in you and they see you as the talent, then respect the talent. That's what it comes down to, you know? Don't sort of see an opportunity and then think you're just going to try to treat them like shit or just manipulate, because I'm not manipulative. You can't manipulate me. I'll hold everybody accountable, and I don't give a shit if they're the highest executive or not. It's like, don't expect more of me than I'm prepared to. I'll tell you my limit, and if you push that limit, I'll tell you I'm not budging an inch. And if you don't like it, tough shit. I've already said this so many times. It could be millions of dollars on the line. I could not give a shit. If I'm like, let's say I'm happy in a relationship, even married, whatever it is. And let's say we've been working, we're doing projects. Let's say I'm writing my books, I'm doing things. Let's say there's been events and I've attended. I've held my end of an obligation up. And let's say now I've planned a holiday and we're going to go, we're looking forward to it. We've been planning it for ages. For me, my private life is more important, is just as important to me as anything else I do. It's not a case of this can be altered for that. No. The balance is everything. Balance is everything. I don't care. That is just as important as that. And as soon as someone doesn't understand that, they'll soon learn. So if I was let's say in a relationship, let's say it's my daughter's involved as well. Let's say we've planned a beautiful holiday together. Doesn't even have to be expensive. We've booked a time together. We're all available for this set period. Yeah, we've planned it in advance. This is it. And then let's say there's a famous person or someone with a lot of money, a lot of clout, a lot of prestige. They've heard who you are or whatever, and they'd like to set up a meeting. And it's now. They're saying it has to be now or never. Well, then never. Don't call my bluff, because you'll figure the answer out fast. No amount on earth, I kid you not, no amount on earth would make me deviate my plans. Time is too short. I've already established that. Time is too short. You don't always get these opportunities. You could say you ain't always going to get the opportunity for money. Beautiful. Who gives a shit? You only need so much. You ain't always going to have all that time in those situations. Let's say you mess up that holiday or that hot thing. You don't, like, let's say it's my daughter, for instance. She's getting older now. Let's say it's a beautiful holiday we're going to have. We haven't had many of them. And then maybe you defer it. We'll go next year. Well, now all of a sudden, let's say they're married. Let's say now they've got a child or something. They can't travel now because it's got all of a sudden, we're just losing shit. 5 years down the road, maybe we can start looking to do a holiday. You know, the whole dynamics change. That situation that's been planned is what's going to happen. And I really couldn't give a shit beyond that. And again, it looks like, I know I'm unhinged in that way. And I know, because it goes against societal norms. But why should people give an ultimatum? And why should people have the power to deviate your plans? Like, I hate the way that money buys everything. I don't like that concept at all. Money can give you a beautiful life, but it can also destroy life too. And if you look at it from that sense, let's say someone offers you, they keep off adding more millions. It's true, because it doesn't matter to them. For them, it's more like a power trip. It's control. It's to literally get you to come. And then they've won. It's like, I'm not playing games with anyone. I've already made my plans clear. If you can wait a couple of weeks, then we can do it. If you're just trying to power trip, then go and do one. I couldn't give a shit who you are. What do I care? Jesus. You know, and that's what I'm like. So if I had a manager, for instance, or PI, whatever, you know, personal assistant or something, they would know the rules. Don't even, and this would be my rule. This would literally be the rule. It'd be the golden rule. If I'm on holiday, do not contact me on holiday. Unless it's a genuine emergency. Let's say it's a huge emergency. Let's say it's a government issue with a tax problem or something, you know, something that really needs to be addressed. You haven't got time to wait 2 weeks because there's a deadline. Let's say it has to be that, or, you know, it has to be something serious. Not an opportunity. Put that on the list of things I'll do when I get back, and just tell people that I'm on holiday. And then I think personally in my life, there would have to eventually be a respect. People would have to respect when they hear your name and they hear holiday. They know, no, you ain't going. No, we have to do it after. And they'd have to work around it, because they realise that's the standard you set. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'd do. And there's no deviating. People see that. If I'm ever successful in the future and you hear things like that, just you'd know it's true. Because I really couldn't give a shit who it is. I really couldn't, because I don't look up at anyone. And that's not me being arrogant or trying to minimize other people's success. It's just that we're all people. It's just some people more successful than others, but it doesn't give you a right to own anyone. I'm not a slave. No one owns me. So if someone gives me an opportunity, for instance, and you have a breakthrough, you're doing well, and you're both benefiting off it, great. It's a business opportunity. So, we're doing business together, and that's great. And I respect you based, if we're doing business together, then obviously I respect them for what they can do, because there's sides that I don't like. I don't like marketing and all this shit. If a manager can put you in the right places, or someone has that opportunity to find the opportunities, that's great, because that's them providing that. Absolutely, that's brilliant. But it's about respecting each other, though, and your roles, and understanding there's life as well. So it's not all about me. If other people are on holiday or they're getting married, it's like they deserve that. You have your break. I wouldn't tell people, don't go. Oh no, you're on holiday. I'll get back. Who does that? Everybody deserves to be happy. Everybody deserves life. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Boundaries, though. But then, like I said, the boundaries extends to even people who are far more successful than me. But that's effectively, we are literally the star of our lives. We're led to believe that we're not. A lot of the time, we're conditioned to put people above ourselves. And as much as I love my daughter, it's a hard lesson I've had to learn. Believe me. I would have given, a few years ago, I would have given everything up for her in a dime. Now, for the most part, I would, to an extent. But I do recognize that I am the star of my life. She is a huge extension of my life, but I am my star. In the same way she is the star of her life. And I think that's something we've all got to learn to realize. Because in the end, if you don't even live your life and you don't pursue your best interests, you're not going to be of much use to anyone anyway. So there's no reason to minimize our life to the extent of putting other people above us. We have to be at the top. All of us. So I don't expect people to put me above them. You shouldn't have that pedestal shit. You're at the top, and everything else, it can be slightly next to you. Your head has to be above, because it's up to you to prioritize your needs as well. And again, that's not from an ego point of view. It's just establishing the fact that this is our life to live. It's not for us to sort of like minimize our life for someone else. So it's the same way like where I do my books and when I talk on topics. Let's say I'm in a relationship and someone thinks, don't do that book, or don't do this, or don't do that. You don't get to determine that shit. That's my path. That's my legacy. I'm not having someone tell me I can't do something. So, there's limits, and I think you find people in relationships where they minimize your progress. They minimize like what you're going to achieve in life. It's like they have no right to do that. We are the star of our life. So people can accompany us on the journey, and they can have an immense amount of love, and can have this beautiful life together. But it's really important that I still live my life too, and they live theirs. Hopefully it's made some sense. But like I say, it just gets lonely. But some people, I think the reality is, there's some people maybe you expect, or you might even think from childhood, you picture your life how you want it. And I think it just becomes a bit sad, a bit demoralizing, I think, when you start to get closer, or the vision gets a bit more real. And then you realize a lot of those that you thought was coming aren't. But then you just accept it to realize that, it's up to them to develop their own life, isn't it? And it's really, you can't feel guilty for building your own. Anyway, hope this has been sort of like not confusing, because I am aware of how like off topics it was going. It was going in different directions, and I'm not even sure I've 100% explained it. I'm hoping I have, because I want people to just never. I don't want people to suffer because they gave up on a dream because someone held them back. There's extenuating circumstances, of course. Like, let's say, for instance, you're supporting a family member and they've got like an illness or something. It's a beautiful thing, I think, supporting people. But again, you have to ask what life you want. If that's a life you'd be satisfied with living. It's a tough one now. That's pushed me now. That's a tough one. Because on a human level, you're like, from compassion, it's a beautiful thing to give up a lot of your life to support someone else. But is it? That's the question now. I'm not going to say what the right answer to that is, because that's really interesting. It's a beautiful sacrifice. But is it a fair sacrifice? Because ultimately, we're not responsible for other people's lives. That one I don't think is absolutely 100%. I think that is a tricky one, because now I'm thinking, I'll talk about it a little bit before we finish, because I wasn't even going there. I just literally thought of it as I was thinking, and I was like, wait a minute. That throws a spanner. I always do that. If I think something, I always think of the opposite as well. So I'm always self-critical and I'm always analysing. Initially, I'm thinking like a family member. Let's say a family's got a dire illness, but let's say, look, let's say it was something that was going to, let's say it was cancer or something, and in 5 years it's over though. You're not wishing for it to be over, but there is this. I've noticed that with people who see others suffering, there's this peace after. It's not like they wished it, but it's like this peace that the other person is no longer suffering, but at the same time they're no longer exhausted. It's not. I mean, it's a strange thing. It's almost like this guilt though for feeling it, but there is this release. So I think when it's a bit difficult because let's say someone's got an illness that's lifelong, that's a lot of sacrifice. If it's someone's got an illness that there's gonna be an end to it. Although you just cherish the moments, you remember who they were, and I'm not saying you're desperate for it to end, but at least there's a period of your life where you can get it back. If someone has a long-term illness, that's a lot harder because you're giving up your whole life for them. You've literally just changed the entire outlook of your potential. That's tricky. I haven't got an answer to 100% to that because, like I said, at first I'm thinking family members, but then again, if you're thinking family members, why is the burden placed solely on you, where there could be other parties to help? That's tricky. And of course, there are professionals that can handle things, but I'm not trying to mitigate that by saying that. I'm just again thinking. The other side that threw me through a loop when I was thinking it, because I think quite fast. So while I'm thinking that, I'm thinking the other direction at the same time. I was picturing, let's say you're married, you absolutely love the person. And I've seen people do this, by the way. And I usually think it's quite sick. And it is, to be totally honest. Let's say someone has an injury. It's life-changing. They're not the same as they were before the injury physically. Even their mental capacity, I guess, depending on the injury. But let's go with the physical. I've seen content before where something's happened to someone and then the partner's left them because they couldn't handle it. And you think, that's quite disgusting because you've committed your life to them, and just because they've got a deficiency, you've given up on them. So it's a bit, I think sometimes the dynamic's different. I know this is all completely off from where we was before, but I think it's worth looking at that really, because we're looking at going after their dreams no matter what. But then there's an extenuating circumstance, isn't there, that can derail it and legitimately derail it. So like I'm thinking now, like if he was married to someone and they got something happen to him, like I think that's the extenuating circumstance. I wouldn't give up. I've sacrificed an awful lot in my last relationship, believe me. There's a lot of struggle financially, and I supported them through it. Now it really caused me distress. I was exhausted. My chest was hurting a lot. I was always like absolutely pushed to the limit, energy wise. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was killing me, to be totally honest, physically, because you push yourself too hard, And then releasing from that situation. Look how much I've done with the books and things. So there's progress. There's so much I can achieve in this lifetime. And I think the idea that you don't reach your potential, I think that's sad for anyone, I think, if you've got potential. But I think there's certain aspects of life, I think that almost like we're called upon. It's a tricky one. I haven't got the whole answer to it, only because if I think about it from a deep spiritual side, if I throw a spiritual tangent into this, I think it helps. Because I haven't got the 100% answer here, in all honesty. Because I could tell you what I want to do, but from a spiritual point of view, I'm not sure the 100% answer to it. If I say what I want to do, I would want to just stop what I'm doing and help. Especially if it's a loved one, like your partner, your wife. Absolutely. So any decision other than that wouldn't be what I would want. And I'm not saying, I'm just trying to figure it out. Because I know the answer is that. If anybody listening, they're going to say 100%, you don't even deviate. I'm giving the other's perspective though. From a spiritual point of view, we all have our life to live. We all come here for a purpose. And some of the things that happen to us are part of our life journey. So, you can look at it one way or another. I have my feelings on things. I personally think even a challenge, an obstacle is part of our growth for our soul. So it can teach us. It can teach us humility. It can teach us resilience. So if something's restricted in our life, it teaches us to literally have that. We gain a resilience and independence. There's certain things, and of course, there's other things where maybe you want support from other people. There's nuances, but if you look at it enough, you can realize the development that comes from it. So although it's restrictive, it seems unfair, it's cruel, there's actually something to gain in any situation. So let's say on my lifetime, I'm supposed to help an awful lot of people for what I do. But I decide, because of a human condition, a situation, that I'm going to not fulfill that side of my like let's say it's a prophecy. I'm not going to fulfill that prophecy because this person needs me. Does that you've helping one person, does that validate you not helping so many people that really needed to hear what you're going to share? Now, I know that seems like, whoa, that's a big statement to make. Who's going to do it? I'm not saying that. I'm saying from a spiritual point of view, if that's what you, because we've all got life purpose. So if that was your purpose to come here, so this is what I'm going. I know this has gone completely off track, but hopefully people have got this far and are enjoying it enough, because otherwise I'm just rambling. But from a spiritual point of view, we all come here for a purpose, unique to each of us. So there'll be a set of criteria you're going to meet in your lifetime. I'll give a little bit of mine that I'm already aware of. I'm going to live multiple lives in one timeline. I'm quite advanced. I don't say it lightly. I know my life. I hate having to keep sidetracking, so I'm not going to sidetrack. Just bear with me, because I'm not going to keep doing that. So I know I've got to live. I'm here to live multiple lifetimes in one lifetime. I know I'm an advanced soul, so I can accomplish it. So it means I'm going to start low. It's going to be an absolute struggle. People are going to try and pull me left and right and center. They're going to try and derail me, so I never see my light. I never see who I am at my core. So I never awaken to who I am and what I can accomplish. There will be a period where I will detach and I will realize who I am. I'll get goosebumps. And then from there, I will be relentless in my pursuit to fulfill whatever prophecy is ordained. These are part of the things. There'll be people on my path who try to stop me. There'll be people in my life who support me. And there'll be people in my life who I absolutely love. And this is my path. Now, if I was to forego the breakthrough, what would spirit think of that? Because literally, this was your timeline. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think there's 100% here right and wrong. From a humanity point of view, yeah, it'd be wrong not to support. From spirit's point of view, we might get to the other side, because you get an end of life review. I've heard so many stories of this. So your guides and sort of higher ranked angel will show you the life you've had and the things you were supposed to do, what you didn't do, all the things, the negatives, the positives. So of course there'll be things maybe you forego for that, and they might show you. And again, it depends on the elevation of the way you're thinking. If you're a very limited mindset, of course it's basic. If you elevate your mind, you start thinking of different paradigms of thought, which is where my mind always goes. I'm always like analyzing the shit out of everything, and it's usually quite quick. So they might turn around and say, look, you gave up. We needed you to do that. And the knock-on effect of you not doing that is all these people are suffering. The world didn't change because you stopped doing what you come there to do, and you was making progress. And because you're kind and compassionate, you allowed that to cloud your judgment. That person was there to put off a part of your life, and they had the thing that come into them. Like, stop. This is me thinking now. I might be completely off, because I'm trying to think how it could be perceived. You could say it could be perceived by, let's say someone's got a condition that was part of their journey. So you were supposed to detach. They was never coming with you. They was going to have a different experience, and you was going to go off and do those things. Their criteria for their life was they was going to go through hardship, and it wasn't fair. But there's a lot of growth to be had in that moment, because in a previous life, I'm not saying this specifically, as I don't want to sort of validate anybody's disability, so don't get that wrong, but I'm just going to put it through that it could be. Because I think, if you're asking me, I might as well ask my opinion. I think a lot of people that are having issues have had maybe a privilege in another life. I'm not saying it specifically, but I think so. So let's say, for instance, you lived a life of royalty in another previous life. You had a life of luxury, and other people around suffered. Maybe in that period of time, you wasn't always the kindest. Now, I'm not trying to. People are going to hate me for this, but I'm just talking. So let's say in another life, though, you didn't really relate to. We see it now. You only have to look at the people now with wealth. Some of them, they don't really have a lot of compassion for every other people that are suffering. Some of them think people that are poor are stupid people. That I've seen that. So it's not a case of if someone's got an issue now that you'd say they're not a nice person. It's just that when you have opportunity, sometimes you lose sense of reality. So it could very well be, from a spiritual point of view, that that person was going to come and have a certain life, and they was going to have a hardship in this life to ground them, to teach them humility. It was what they had to experience this time around, because last time they had more and they didn't even appreciate it, and they lost perspective on life. So we needed to ground them and keep them in that situation. And although it seems like a punishment, they are learning a lot about the simple things in life. And when someone shows an act of kindness, it's of service to them. So I get goosebumps. Now I think I'm on the right path here. It's like I think I'm all over this. So, from a spiritual point of view, what would Spirit want me to do in that part? You both had your own paths to go. You was going to come together for a period. They was going to have to go theirs. Yours was going to go yours. But because of your compassion and your kindness, you wouldn't let them go. You wouldn't detach. So now they didn't quite learn everything they were supposed to learn, because maybe maybe your compassion, that person just took it for granted. They don't even appreciate they don't even recognize the level of sacrifice you've done to stay with them. And so they never learned their lesson. I'm only saying that out loud. That's gone. I know that's gone. That should be a completely different video, I've got no doubt. But I'm not even sure how it come to be, so I'm not going to edit it. Although I'm sure that could be a completely separate topic. So anyone that got there, you got a little bit of a bonus. Don't normally have bonuses. Whether it made sense is another thing again. But I did get goosebumps twice, and for that to happen is usually a very positive sign. So yeah, like I say, there's extenuating circumstances, but it's not always cruel. Well, the intention isn't, of course. Anyway, yeah, that was a tough one. that was a tough one, because, like I say, every part of me saying your commitment is to that person, and you absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying what I would do or wouldn't do, because it's all hypotheticals. Just because Spirit would want that, and it doesn't mean I would give up. That's the thing. Knowing me, I would try to balance everything. It'd burn me out to shit, to be totally honest. And the trouble is, you burn at both ends. You can't. So I don't know. I think from my point of view, the positive is I've already done a set amount of books. So the hypothetical, in theory, goes towards my favour, in the sense that if I stop doing anything, I've done enough, sort of, in my eyes. It can help. What I've done could already help a lot of people. I think if I hadn't done that, I think the argument there is, without going too far, I'm not going to go on a huge tangent again, but the other side of that, of course, is look at what I've achieved. Let's say I did these, look at all the books I've done. I think this is a good analogy, really. Look at all the books I've done, and they can help a lot of people if just people knew about them, because I know they will. And imagine they didn't exist. I never did them. That's quite sad, because that literally could have helped so many people. I think that's what you just got to see. You maybe wouldn't have done them, and that'd be a bit sad. A legacy. Because the thing is, some of these things can last generations. Not saying it will, but you could actually be revered in another generation. So the next wave literally look up to you, you're inspiring, and you could be remembered for years and years and years and centuries even. That's rare, of course. How many people do we really know from centuries? But the point is, there's a potential for that. Yeah, it's been way longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be really short today, to be totally honest. Hopefully that hasn't been boring. I like anything, I'll watch it back, and I'll decide for myself if I think it's rambly. I'll probably, I don't really like cutting my videos, because I have the capacity to cut it if I choose to. But I always think, if someone gets fed up 40 minutes, let's say it's over an hour, and they get fed up after half an hour, it's like, I always think, well, it doesn't hurt anyone, me adding the extra half an hour. So if someone watches it and thinks, oh, the last 20 minutes was shit, it's like, that's fine. But you didn't have to watch the last 20 minutes, did you? So I always think you might as well keep the extra, because someone that was enjoying it, maybe they've got more to watch. Because I know some people cut things down because the engagement. If people don't watch it all the way, it can affect your algorithm. But I don't really care about algorithms. Like I say, if some people want to watch 5 minutes, watch 5 minutes. Someone want to watch 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Now, I'll give as much as I can of my time. And that's really what I'm like. I like to give my time where I feel it's useful, but on my terms. So like me sitting here for an hour and 5 minutes, I don't get anything for this. I'm on no creative program where I'll get money. Maybe one day it'd be nice to start making some money off what I do. I think I deserve it. But it's like it's in my time. I decide when I want to press record. I say that, but usually when I get an idea, I record immediately. That's annoying. There really isn't much willpower there actually. But the potential's there that I'll do it when I want. Rather than a rigid schedule. But anyway, hopefully that's been interesting. I don't really know.